We hope so. Question.
I can't get up the homepage screen I need.
The keypad.
Oh, is it the key?
Right here.
Yep.
I have a question. The keypad. Is there a battery? I'm not a Apple guy. Oh, it is a battery in there. Okay, all right. In the keypad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
All right.
it should have a USB.
Okay.
We've got several different models. Most of them have got USB on the side. Or so first it's got an on-off switch, and then it's got a USB charger on the side.
Yes.
I get it. Anytime there's anything.
To be honest, not so
And then it wouldn't be the same type of connection neither, huh?
Oh yeah, no, that would make life too easy.
concerned
Way too easy.
is the shortage of city staff.
Hey, how you doing?
City workers, what are they doing on that regard with the residents?
It's gonna be right here when we get ready to cook it.
Like,
Just for this little keypad right here. But see, I got
Right.
the same kind of connection. This is different. Yeah, I got my own.
Presentation, anything, am I allowed to get this?
Hey, man, how you doing there, sir?
Until that can be done,
I hear that.
yeah. I think so. Thank you. Right, this is good. So I take it that,
I feel that every day.
yeah.
It should be. I don't know if they're gonna be here or not.
Thank you.
It'll be on the screen, but they mentioned it's hard for you guys to see.
What was this with everybody just leaving all of a sudden?
What do you mean? Oh, on the commission? I don't know.
See, I don't do that.
What's her name?
The lady who used to
Speak, yeah, you
Oh,
yes, ma'am. 2141.
I got 21.
I hope that's what it was. I was like, okay.
All right.
Can I give you what I'm gonna speak on?
I'm okay with that. I thought.
You can hand it to me later after you use it. You need to use it.
I ain't gonna take it. Well, I mean, I've got an extra copy.
Okay, yeah, you can just use that paper clip right there.
We're talking about that.
And I'll make sure I keep track of it.
Are they selling or are they ready?
Ryan Anderson.
Ryan,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
read the whole.
Oh, nice to meet you, Miss Hopkins.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my husband was at Lucas Springs High School and then at Douglas County High School.
Okay.
So, and do you know Marlon Ellis? He used to umpire or referee the basketball games for Coach Forrest, who coached my husband was his boss at Douglas High School.
Okay.
You know Coach Forrest?
No,
Now, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from
That's
Mississippi.
troublesome to me. I'm just
Well, yeah, I've been in Georgia for 20 years, though.
I have to vote my conscience.
All right. Well, this is my statement, and then I'm going to present.
Okay, all right. You for or against?
And you're for it.
I'm for it.
Okay.
Today,
I think those two are,
I'm
yeah.
for it.
Okay.
You want
So,
me different?
yeah, put yours right there, yeah.
I'm probably going to be the
I was just
only
laughing.
one.
I didn't know all of that about the
I
keyboard.
fought it for 3
And
years,
then
the one that they wanted
it's got a
before,
different
and they were
connection.
gonna have
It won't even use the
to
same
hold
power.
that.
So,
Now,
Yeah, that was too big.
the best they can. Something's going in.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Douglasville's Planning Commission meeting. I am Francisco Artley, the chairman of the Planning Commission. The other members on the Planning Commission are Natalie Fegan, Keith Burnett, Nathan Zachary, Joy Bates, Ralph Benton, and Mark Van. The staff members are Lynn Woodward, staff attorney, and Ryan Anderson, zoning administrator. There are a few protocol items I would like to make you aware of before we start the meeting. Please listen closely on how tonight's meeting will be conducted. Keep your comments and presentation on a professional level, dealing with facts that are important for this commission to make its decision. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this requirement. A second deviation will result in a request for you to leave the meeting and the premises for the evening. Refrain from any applause or comments from the audience. Only one person will be talking at a time, and all comments will be made at the podium after the speaker has been recognized by the chair. Please direct all comments to the chair and the commission, not to the audience or the staff. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience, cheer, carry on a conversation with others in the audience, or disrupt the order of this meeting in any way. Be aware that these hearings are not a debate or an opportunity to ask questions which may be answered by any individual tonight, but are merely an opportunity to present information to the commission. Other than the applicant, no person may speak more than once. The applicant may reserve part of their speaking time as a rebuttal and may speak next and last, and may use the entire 20 minutes allotted for the pro side of this application. Other than the applicant, no speaker may speak more than 5 minutes. If you have a pager, cell phone, or any other electronic device, I ask that you either power them off or put them in silent mode. If anyone wishes to speak tonight, please fill out a form available on the table up front and hand to the staff before approaching the podium. After each case is called, we will hear next from the zoning administrator, and then we will hear from the applicant or their representative about what their plans are for the property, along with any other relevant information they wish to present. The commission members will be free to ask questions at any time before the vote on a project. Following the applicant, anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project or just ask questions will have an opportunity to do so. The city ordinance restricts each side to a maximum of 20 minutes, or time may be waived at the discretion of the presiding official. If questions are raised, we may ask the applicant to speak again. Afterward, we will call for a motion and a second, have any necessary discussion, and if the matter is not tabled, we will vote to recommend approval or denial of the application. This commission is only a recommending body. The item will be heard by the mayor and council whether we recommend approval or recommend denial. Unless tabled, these items will be heard by the city's mayor and council at their legislative meetings on Thursday, September 16th, and then vote upon by them at their meeting on the following Monday, September 20th. Our first item is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Vote aye.
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 All opposed? Same sign? All right. If you'll please, on your iPads, make the...
Chairman, mine is not
Yours didn't
coming
come up?
It's coming.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. It's moving a little slow today, I guess, kind of like us sometimes.
I'll vote for you, Ms. Bates, if you can.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, yeah. All right, the minutes are approved. The first case is item 21-421. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from R2 Single Family Residential District to PUD, Planned Unit Development District, for 83.3 acres at northeast intersection of Presley Mill Road and Timber Ridge Drive in Land Lot 54, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 2. Application by the Revived Land Group and Neville Allison, Managing Partner. Staff will now present the item.
This rezoning application is being submitted on behalf of the developer of the Revived Land Group. This application proposed to rezone 83 acres of property located at Timber Ridge Road and Presley Mill Road from R2 single-family residential to detached PUD planned unit development. This rezoning would facilitate development of a new 238-unit single-family residential community consisting of 3 varieties of sizes: a 42-foot, a 50-foot, and a 60-foot wide single-family detached home. The proposed overall site density for the 83-acre tract is approximately 2.83 acres per unit. The site is designed so that the largest lots are located along the periphery of the site, closest to adjoining lot lines, as the smallest lots are located toward the center of the site. The proposed development furthers the intent of the comprehensive plan. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use designation for Regional Activity Center. PUD is a recommended land use under the Regional Activity Character Area category. The PUD classification replaced the former DCD zoning classification in the most recent UDO update. The surrounding land uses includes to the north and northwest 2 single-family detached residential developments that are zoned PUD. West of the subject property, across Timber Ridge Road, is a large, currently undeveloped parcel zone R2 planned for a multifamily senior housing development. South and west of the subject property is Brighton Academy, a charter school, and Benton House, a senior living development. Also south of the site is a small residential single-family detached development. The proposed development is congruent with one of the goals of the city's comprehensive plan Regional Activity Center character area, and that is to provide for varying densities of residential development. This development meets that goal by providing 2 or more differing densities of single-family residential living for the surrounding community. The applicant is taking vacant land which has been undeveloped for decades and developing single-family residences. This proposed project will add to the city's tax base. The proposed zoning amendment changes the existing zoning of R2, which is a single-family residential use, to a more specific PUD zoning for single-family residential use. The PUD zoning designation will allow the developer to build homes with similar R2 specification on smaller lot sizes. Furthermore, PUD will be the optimal zone for the subject property because of the environmental and topographical issues associated with the site, while leaving an abundance of land undisturbed. An R2 development would not be viable at this location, thus rendering the current zoning classification as less desirable.
Thank you. Will the applicant come forward and state their name and address for the record? Tell us what you intend to do on this property.
Is it okay to take this? Okay. Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Thank you for letting us speak tonight on the Timber Ridge property. I've got a lot of different history on the site, so I wanted to be able to run through kind of where we were, what we've done for changes, and to be able to go through the project in great detail. And we're looking for your approval tonight for all the reasons staff said, is that for every planning document in the city, we're right down the middle or even on the low end as density states. And so looking at the location map, here you see the project. So the project is 83 acres. And so it's a lot larger than the typical zonings that I've come through with or different ones that I've seen. It's just a large tract of land that takes up. And you can see on the left-hand side, as we zoom in, you can see the location of Timber Ridge, which is on that left side, and then Presley is on the bottom side. And then you have the senior complexes just west of the site. And then you also have the new construction, which I believe I've heard is an assisted living facility that is just across, that was just approved not too long ago, that is starting construction there by the gas line. And then you have kind of the surrounding neighborhoods that were there. Some of the things, we've been working on the project a long time, even before we really came up with a plan, and we tried to learn from what we heard in the past that did not work for the location and then move forward. So these were the public participation meetings that we held, and what we did is we took everything that we heard and we created basically zoning stipulations, and I'll go through those. But we tried to take everything we heard and put them into a stipulation so that everybody knows exactly what we're coming forward with, and that's also the reason, beside PUD being right into the character area and right into all the surrounding other zonings, but also PUD basically tells you this is exactly what we're going to do and exactly how we're going to do it, and that was the reason that we chose that and thought that was the best. This is the Regional Activity Center. As you can see, that whole area, the entire 83 acres, plus some of the properties to the south and to the west, are all in that designation. And so our density being at 2.8, we're on the lowest end of that spectrum you can be. It's really, as you read through it, it talks about this is the place for high densities. And so what we've learned is that high density was not something the neighborhoods wanted to see, so we revised our plan to what you'll see today, just to fit into this even better, but we are on the lowest end of that spectrum. You can also see from here the PUDs are totally surrounding us except for the one property, the Presley Mill, but that was platted I think in '04, I believe, and so it's been platted a long time. But all the other PUDs are totally surrounding us, and so you can see from the map that we're right in line with the other zonings around us. So this was our plan several years ago. I wanted to kind of show it. So this is where we started out at, and we're at 396 units at a much higher density. We had some apartments, senior apartments, townhomes, as well as the small single-family lots crossing the creek, and then another access on the top. And so what we heard when we were going through this meeting is that apartments and the townhomes were definitely out. And, you know, do we have to disturb so much more land? And we really want single-family detached living in the area, and then looking at some of the road improvements, the frontages. And so we came up with our first plan as Neville with the Revive group, you know, called me, and we went back through exactly how do we approach it. And so this next plan is exactly what we came up with. It was 260 units at a little bit of a higher density than what we have now. And it was closer to where we were actually touching all the different property lines, and we were mixing the sizes, and we also had lots on the north side. And so after meeting with the neighborhood, one of the requests was, can we just look at the density? Can we lower the density? Can we look at, you know, the transitions between the neighborhoods? Can we look at the frontages? How is off Presley going to look? Is it going to match the different type of fencing? How is Timber Ridge going to look? What are we going to see? And so we came up with the new plan, which is the plan that you guys have in your packet as the official plan. And so it's 238 units. It's 3.3 on the gross. That means if you took out all the undeveloped area, but it's 2.8 on the total land for that. And I'll go through how that fits in with the surrounding area. But we broke that out and we tried to highlight. So we put our largest lots around the perimeter, and we backed every lot away from the perimeters. And so everything has a larger landscape buffer around all of the perimeters of the site, especially over to Presley, because that was an existing subdivision, and the church on the east side. One of the more significant changes that we made to this is that we took off all of the development above the creek. And so it's over 10 acres of usable area that goes down to the creek, where you see the pipeline on that top. And whether that remains to the HOA or if the city has some use for it as some type of future, you know, park space or something, that is basically, this project is just under 40% open space. So we're at 37% of the site now is all open space, including our active areas. And so that was a major significant change. As you can see, our lots are well backed up from the creek. We have large stormwater ponds because we know and we heard from the neighbors that downstream flooding was an issue. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to respond to all those different concerns. We have 2 access points. We wanted to make sure that we could distribute traffic flow throughout the area. So we have an access point on Timber Ridge. We are showing full turn lanes and full movement on Timber Ridge as well as Presley. And so we're lining up the entrance on Presley. We're going to talk to the transportation department, and any recommendations that comes out of that we would comply with. We're thinking that would probably be best to create like a 4-way stop there so it's controlled in a better fashion, or some other type of measures of traffic calming. because we heard from the neighbors that a lot of people try to cut through to the south. We are proposing a left-hand turn lane as well as decel lanes on both of the entrances. Our traffic study did not show that this development would cause a burden on the surrounding network that's there today, and that our traffic lanes, the left turn lanes, actually did not trip in terms of what was required. And so, but we are showing them on our plan, and so we intend to build those improvements so that we can make necessary improvements to add that as an enhanced feature. We would be adding sidewalks along the frontages, especially on Presley. That's one part that we really wanted to focus in, because as you go down that road, there's a lot of different, you have the signage, you have the gates, the way that the fencing works, and we wanted to make sure that we match that. So we called out on our plan that we would match the wrought iron with the stone columns all up and down through there, as well as the sidewalk configurations. You can see from the plan that away from Timber Ridge, we don't have our first lot until you're about 80 feet from Timber right-of-way, which is about 100 feet from the road, and then we pushed away from Presley by about 150 feet to the first lot. And so everything is very much pushed inward to the site. And when you really look at the development area, we're trying to consolidate it. And so that's one of the things that makes the category in the plan what we think is so superior, is that we're able to take the PUD and we're able to build a quality product, and Neville can go over what that is with the builder. There would only be one builder in the entire neighborhood, and then that product would be done throughout the neighborhood, and we're able to use the PUD to come up with something more creative. So if we were doing other type of, R2, R3, or some other type of designation, it would go up to the top. It would have to use every bit of developable land. But when we're able to use the PUD, it gives us more flexibility to push it, create these buffers around the surrounding edges, as well as stay away from some of the steeper topography and bring a massive amenity area right there in the center of the project. And kind of moving through, we wanted to come up with these just so you guys can get a feel for how the different lots felt and the open space. And you can really see how much of the open space we're leaving all of the creek areas alone, as well as pulling away from those creeks even further. And you can see our stormwater ponds are significant. And that's because when we started looking at our studies for downstream, we knew that there was problems downstream and that we needed to do our part to address that. And so that entire northern part would remain undisturbed, and then the areas that we are developing, we would have significant stormwater ponds to make sure that we can control our runoff and would not have that downstream impact. This is the area, the wider lots we put all along the borders, whether you're looking from Presley, from Timber Ridge, from Presley Park, Presley Mill, sorry, or from the church. All of that is our larger lots, so all of the smaller lots are consolidated inside the development, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to do that as part of this. This shows all the green space, the 37, upwards of 40% that we have. Our amenity areas are very maxed out. We're looking at having a clubhouse that would have, pickleball and then a pool area and a very nice upscale amenities. That amenity area that you see there is upwards of 1.5 acres, and so it's a significant large area, as well as we have space, obviously, on the other side. Now that we have, more than 10 acres that's going to be usable on the other side, it gives us a lot of ability to create trails through the development. And this kind of shows you, that's the development area. I wanted to create that slide so everybody could see that we've consolidated that development area, so you can really see that it doesn't look like it takes up just over half of the site, and so we're really trying to consolidate that in. There are some proposed conditions that we put forth, we submitted to staff, that I wanted to run through really quickly and make sure that everybody was clear on what we were doing. That the site plan would be the site plan we show. We're going to create a mandatory HOA, and then the HOA would take over as soon as it's built out. Rental restrictions to be 5%. Minimum square footage of the home would start at 1,800, then they go up above 3,000 square feet. Elevations, making sure that substantial materials of all good products, no vinyl, anything like that. The frontage to have that brick fence and columns that we talked about. Making sure that we list the number of units so that we can't increase units without having to get a zoning change, and that's what we're locked into, and that we have a minimum of the amount of units with the larger units. Minimum lot sizes set in place, open space is defined in here, the clubhouse, the pool area is defined, the sidewalks, the 25-foot landscape setbacks that we talked about, all department recommendations from Public Works, that's transportation, water and sewer, set back the lots 80 feet from Presley Mill Road, and any right-of-way dedications needed. And so we wanted to make sure that we have all these so everybody knows exactly that everything we're telling is going to be exactly how it is. So I wanted to get Neville up here to run through some of the different product and his company as well for the plan.
Thank you, Ken. Neville Allison, managing partner with the Revive Land Group, 3500 Lenox Road, Suite 625, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for everyone's time this evening. As you guys know, this project has a lot of history. It's come through before the planning department before, and we had several neighborhood meetings, including with our chairman attending, to kind of talk about, hey, what did you not like about the plan before, and what can we do different? And I really think that kind of what we've come up with reflects that. Ken mentioned these zoning conditions, and I think it's important to note we didn't just come up with these on our own. We took feedback from the neighbors and incorporated those conditions, their feedback into these conditions. So some of them are, to meet development criteria and make sure we're going to agree with the city of Douglasville's various departments, but the other part is just making sure that we memorialize kind of what we heard from the neighbors of what they wanted to see. So here with the product, we only do Class A developments as a company. There's some questions of, well, who's the developer? Who's involved? So Ken's group is our civil engineer. I'm the developer, and we have a large national builder for our home building product. You can see, again, with the PUD, we're able to do different home sizes. Instead of creating 238 homes that are all the same size and the same square footage, we're able to create these different home sizes that have a square footage range from 1,800 square feet all the way up above 3,000 square feet. What that allows us to do is hit an entire breadth of price points. We can have an entry price point for our smallest product is playing around $320,000, and our largest, we think, will go up into the very low 400s. Again, I think that's consistent with what's around us. We have a challenge of when we come for these land use designs, and that is to, one, we've got to look at your comprehensive plan, the city of Douglasville, the document that has taken, so many people's input and so long to develop, and hey, what does that call for on this site? And, we pointed out this is Regional Activity Center, which specifically calls for high-intensity development. That is what the comprehensive plan is dictating should go on this site. Then we meet with the neighbors and listen to what they want. And those wants have ranged everything from single-family homes to a wide-open park. And so we work really hard to come up with something that mirrors those interests. And I really think that we have for this. Again, we're not asking for anything that hasn't been granted around us. I think, we're looking for the density slide there. Oh, okay, Ken's holding it up, but I can do it from the aerial. As we mentioned, there's PUDs all around us. Kingsley Gate, Kensington Gate to the south of us is developed at a gross density of 3.4 units per acre, and Slater Mill to the northeast of us is developed at 3.45 units per acre. The assisted living developments to our west and to our northwest that are one completed and two getting ready to finish are at a much higher density. It's, the first one that's already built, Brenton House, I think is 24 units per acre, and the new one that's getting ready to go in is at 7 units per acre. So again, our density that we're proposing is 2.8 units per acre. That's below what's already been given to other folks. The one R2 subdivision that we're adjacent to, Presley Park, it's a beautiful subdivision. As Ken mentioned, it was platted in 2004. They've had one home sale, according to FMLS, in the last 3 years. You know, that shows me they started in 2004, it's 2021, and we're showing 15 vacant developed lots in that subdivision. And so that tells us, hey, that's not necessarily what the market wants. Whereas Slater Mill, Kings and Gate have sold out in prices well into the 300s, and we plan on continuing that. With that, I'd like to save the rest of my time and answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Questions I had, you already answered.
I just have a few questions.
Yes, sir. Would you like me or Ken to address them, or just kind of take them?
You can address them. Just it's a nice presentation. How long? I know you guys have been working on this for a minute. When did you first? Just so I think it's important for everybody to know, because you've obviously made lots of revisions. So, when did you first start talking with us about this project?
Yes, sir. So here are our meeting dates. Where we had sat down with the neighbors. The first one was June 16th. So that's 3 months ago or so. Before that, as you know, a different developer came in, and so we studied those plans for several months. We originally put the property under contract in April. And so that's when we started our feasibility study, our market study, and looking at what had been previously proposed.
Gotcha. And I've studied up on you a little bit before you got here, but why don't you tell everybody how long you've been doing this?
Yes, sir. So, unfortunately, this is all I've ever done and all I know how to do. This is my 16th year doing nothing but land development. I rode the downturn working for a bank where there wasn't development going on, but I was selling and cleaning up broken subdivisions for a large regional bank during that time. So again, this is about 16 years now. It's all I've ever done in my entire adult life.
And so just to clarify, the purchase price, I know it may range because the market's kind of interesting right now.
Yes, sir.
But purchase prices are going to start out in the low 3s and potentially hit the low 4s. Is that what you're thinking?
That's correct. Yes, sir. I think it's always hard to predict where the market's going to be a year and a half from now when we have product. But if we were to start selling today, we believe the entry price point for our smallest square footage, which again would be very close to 1,800 square feet, would be in the low 300s, called 315, 325, somewhere in that range. And then for our larger homes, as I mentioned, we go all the way up above 3,000 square feet. We see those in the low 4s.
And just to be clear, there are no apartments and there are no townhomes.
Correct. Yes, that's a huge
Everything's
difference.
detached.
Yes, sir. Okay. That's right. So, you may look at this and say, well, your lots are pretty small, but we are all single-family detached homes, which is a huge change from what was previously proposed, both townhomes as well as the stacked senior multifamily. And then if folks have proposed rentals, that's not what we're trying to do. We have in our proposed conditions a rental cap of 5%. This is a for-sale community, and that's really there for legal reasons. There's some questions of whether you can restrict folks' constitutional right to rent their units with 100% rental prohibition. Folks' position in life changes, et cetera. And so that's why we have that cap.
So my last, or not really a question, but really, so basically you've went from 396 units down to 238 units.
Yes,
right?
sir, that's correct.
Okay. Don't find many developers cut it in half.
It's just over 40% of a reduction in density.
Okay.
More is always better, but in this particular case, we want a project that's going to get approved and, frankly, work in concert with what's on the ground today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the project, ask questions, or make comments? Please come forward and tell us your name and address.
Good evening. I'd like to begin by just thanking Planning and Zoning for the meeting tonight and for question and answer session in regard to Presley Mill and Timber Ridge. Y'all remember me, I fought this for 3 years.
Your name and address, please.
And we did not want to have apartments. We did not want to have condos. We did not want to have a situation where it would be just completely infiltrated with that type of situation. And I think everything that I think Kenneth and Norval have hit, they were able to give us green space. My major concern, if you look at that green space on the backside, that's where the pipe comes through from Alabama, goes out all the way to the airport. They tried to accommodate everything at our 2 meetings. We had the answer session. We HOA at Kensington Gardens, and due to COVID, and I'm very aware of it, I was in the hospital for a week with COVID and pneumonia, et cetera. So what we did was notify our homeowners. We did it by email, we did it by text on the phones, and we gave them all pertinent information that we had received. Our communities met with the developer, as he had stated, June the 16th, 2021, at the Planning and Zoning Office. We then met again at the Conference Center here, July 22. They went over everything that we had requested. Now, that was not all of the individual homeowners. That was the HOA boards, as opposed to, and that was due to COVID. You know, we had a situation that we could not do what we had done before. But Kensington Gardens HOA Board met weekly after the information was presented to our community. And our position, after receiving the developer's plan, and he cut that down, as you said, Mr. Van, he cut that down to try to accommodate us even more. So when we met, after we met, and our position after receiving the developer's proposed plan, our board voted to support the development. However, we would like to petition and request the developer to have fewer homes in the cluster area, if that's at all possible. Rita Harper, that is me as president, Bobby Chapman, vice president, Elaine Shattuck, secretary, and George Boulinow, treasurer, our board. We have thoroughly gone over this information. Something's going in that property. Having a PUD is what we live in, and it is with all the other options that are around that area. One other thing that I wanted to indicate is, it looks like all of this would be an influx into the city. That is not true. It is the opposite of that. Where I was thinking, because my husband taught and was principal at Douglas County as well as Lithia Springs, I thought it was going to be Douglas County High School. This is going to be taking people away. As they come out of the subdivision, they're going to be coming out on Timber Ridge, going out toward I-20 and Fairburn Road. You go to New Manchester High School, and those schools in that area, as opposed to the influx being in the city. So with everything that they've done to try to comply with all of our requests, we at the HOA, Kensington Garden Board, do not oppose this at all. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this project, ask questions, or make comments? Please come forward and tell us your name and address.
I'm Dan Holtz, president of Saddlebrook HOA. I live at 9157 Saddlebrook Way. In a similar manner, but not exactly the same, our board met and considered the proposals that were presented, both of them from the June meeting and again in July. And our board has taken the position that we support this proposal. We think it's an amenable one for our community and is not going to negatively impact any of the HOAs or subdivisions that are surrounding it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone who would like to speak other than in favor of this project? Please come forward and tell us your name and address.
Good evening, Chairman, Dr. Artley, and the rest of the board. Thank you for your service, number one, and the time that you devote to this county and community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I won't keep you long. There are a couple of items that I just wanted to address that were a little bit of a concern. One was the level of public comments that were made available. And I do understand that some HOAs did receive notice and try to get that information out. But I've talked to several people in my neighborhood, which is Kensington, and several of us did not receive any notification at all. We also were told that there was a survey that was taken for concerns, and several folks neither did see a survey. So I've got a little bit of problem with that. So as far as public participation, the two meetings that were held, it would be my opinion that we need to get that to all of the public that's involved in this. There are several folks in the audience that don't belong to any of these subdivisions, and they may not have heard anything about this project from anyone. I didn't see it in the newspaper, although I could have missed it. Another point is access points. You gentlemen spoke about access points, and I know this is being called Somerset at Timber Ridge, and while that's a wonderful name, on Timber Ridge Drive, there are no notifications of this meeting there currently tonight. I've been monitoring this project for the last several weeks, and I actually spoke to my councilman about the September 8th meeting not being announced in adequate time. We did not meet the 15-day notice prior to the meeting being held, and subsequently that meeting was called off. Another item is that we talked about that you folks addressed very well, and thank you. But I don't think we've really looked at the need for traffic lights adequately at this point. Being a resident off of Presley Mill Road since 2013, our traffic has blown up over the years. That road that and Timber Ridge have become cut-throughs of people going from Chapel Hill to Fairburn Road. So our traffic has increased, and even in the study that was done, the references back to a 2019 traffic survey that was made, and we were in the middle of COVID last year, so I don't know if adequate traffic numbers have been calculated into 2021 population data. So those would be some of my concerns. The other thing that I wanted to make you aware of is that OCGA state law requires 15 days notice prior to any hearing. We again did not meet that notification, and I've printed that information for the chairman or the staff attorney if you need it, but OCGA 30-66-4 requires that at least 15, but not more than 45 days prior to the date of the hearing, the local government shall cause to be published within a newspaper of general circulation within the territorial boundaries of the local government, a notice of the hearing. The legal notice for this hearing was published September the 2nd in our legal organ, the Douglas County Sentinel. Therefore, we did not meet that requirement. My request of you would be to postpone this meeting until December so that adequate folks can have other input into it. Obviously, not a lot of folks are out tonight, and I'm concerned that notice has not been properly given, and we certainly don't want to be in violation of state law. So if we can't postpone it, maybe we need to put it off a few days and not bring it before the council tomorrow. I think you said that, Dr. Artley, that we can temporarily suspend this, or what was the term you used for that?
The item could be tabled, yes.
It can be tabled.
If there
so
was.
I would respectfully request that this hearing in its full agenda be reconvened in December, or that it be tabled until the October planning meeting. And again, I'm Scott Daniel, 5825 Wembley Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, and that's in the Kensington subdivision. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Ms. Woodward, I'd like to address that question. I mean, was there a proper 15-day notice before?
For the purpose of a public hearing to be, for this particular project to be considered by the commission, not the commission, but the city council, it should have the proper 15 days. I was trying to count on my fingers. As of tomorrow, it should be 15 days.
Okay, so it's not 15 days for planning commission, it's 15 days for city council.
Correct.
It was advertised earlier than that, but it was re-advertised on September the 1st.
Okay.
The sign was up before that. The sign was up sometime in August.
May I approach the bench, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please. Yeah, I would, if you want to give her one, I would give her one, yes. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear for everyone. We submitted our application, several months ago, and then staff did advertise the project, in a timely manner from there. And I think it was pointed out that on the advertisement, the legal description numbers were superimposed, so the land lot district was incorrect. And that was brought to our attention on September the 1st. Staff called us, let us know that was happening, and said they were going to re-advertise that same day, so for September 1st, to give us the 15 days to today for the hearing. So that's just some background on it. I think that's what Ryan was trying to explain.
It was advertised like 2 weeks before that, but a 4 was left off. So we re-advertised on September the 1st.
And so we, as you guys know, we try to talk to everybody we can. It's absolutely impossible to get everyone. There's in every hearing we ever do, someone comes up and says, well, we didn't get the notice. We send out as many notices as we can, or staff sends out the notices. We want everybody's input. We're not trying to hide the ball. I think we're shown that tonight. And so as far as public meetings, we have them. Anybody can come. We try to tell as many people about them. And so, with that, project's been around for a long time. We've gone through the public process to get the input, and so we respectfully request that we push this thing to a vote.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And to just clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body. It does not make a decision that will result in a zoning decision. So the publication date does not really have a bearing as to the current proceeding right now.
Okay, so it's mainly the city council that has to have the 15 days.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak other than in favor of the project? Please come forward and state your name and address.
My name is Cindy Welch. I reside at 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville, Georgia. When I heard about this zoning application, I drove by, and I happened to be the one that saw the sign, and I knew that that was not Douglas County sign. I was in zoning for the county for 28 years, and for 2 of those years, I was the state president of the Zoning Administrators of Georgia. So that sign was wrong, and it needed to be posted, and it needed to be posted at least 15 days before the meeting, and re-advertised and letters sent back out to be right. And I'm looking at what they handed out today, and it still has the district wrong on this.
Okay.
We have no 17th district in Douglas County or the city of Douglasville.
That's from the developer,
Right, but-
Chairman. That has no bearing on anything. The staff information was correct.
Okay.
Well, but you're getting your information from what the engineer shows you, and
Nope.
it should be correct.
No, ma'am, I have to get it off the legal description.
Well, but the signs were wrong if you got it off the legal description.
Yes, it was wrong for a few days, but we reposted on September the 1st, so we meet the requirements.
Only because I called attention to it. I should not have, and seen what would have happened tonight.
You're correct, ma'am, but that happens all the time in zoning.
No, it does not.
Thank you, Ms. Welch. Is there anything else that you have? Is there anything else? No. Okay, thank you. Okay. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Daniel Martin. I live at 1831 Dover Court in Kensington, directly across the street. I am the president of the HOA for Kensington. First of all, before I start, I want to make something real clear. I personally sent out an email, e-blast, a survey, and questions to the homeowners of Kensington myself. It was not done by the board. It was done by me, so I could find out what the people's concerns were, if there were concerns. So I want to make that clear. This was not an HOA board survey. Next, I'd like to make sure that we understand that these three gentlemen, Neville, Barry, and Kenneth, have great credentials. Mr. Woods has been doing it for over 21 years. He is LEED certified, as am I. Neville has a company that's vertically integrated, so that says a lot about his longevity in this business. And Barry is outstanding for his credentials as for the caliber of what he does, professional engineering. So these three gentlemen do know what they're talking about. As I mentioned before, these questions and comments are from homeowners that wanted me to ask questions. That's why I'm here. If I am correct, Mr. Allison and Mr. Wood, you guys are not builders, correct? Yeah, okay. If I'm also correct, Mr. Wood, you were involved in the project called Harmony that took place about a year ago that the zoning decided to not go forward with. Is that correct? Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay. Neville, you got involved with this project how, if I might ask? How did this come back to you after that project did not go forward?
Is this relevant to the?
Well, it is. I'll ask the second part of it.
You want to ask them all and then I'll...
Sure. We wanted to know how you got involved with this because the last project did not go forward and the question was basically rolling around, was this something that was done by Mr. Wood or some other direction? The biggest concern that the homeowners have was in the quality and the facades of the type of structures being built. The board and batten, the fish scales, et cetera, the appearance of the property, even though in our meeting back in July, you had mentioned that there would be some brick, but it would not be full brick or three-sided brick. So that was one of the questions one of the homeowners wanted to hear about. Also, when you look at your plat and you look at how it shows your site data plan, It says there that the square foot of homes would be a little over 1,400 square feet. You had just mentioned 18. So I wanted to be clear on what that was, whether it was 14. And it's on the actual site planning data notes, okay? These lots, all these lots, of the 164 lots, the square foot of, or 164 lots of the total development is of 4,620 square foot lots. That's literally 1/3 the size of the lots that we have in Kensington, if you look at the average of 15,000 square feet. That's 1/3. That's not much bigger than what you're seeing across the front desk. So these are very small lots. And when you look at the size of the homes and the width of the home, that only leaves about 5 feet on each side of that home for land. And if you look at the front side of the facade of the home with the driveways coming into the street, double-sided, double-width driveways, that doesn't leave a whole lot of property per se in the front of the property. So what you're going to see when you look down that street is 2 cars parked in the driveway next to the street all the way down the street. The visual doesn't add a value perception based upon what we're seeing. Is this facility going to be marketed? And if so, how is it going to be marketed? Will there be display homes at the facility? Will this be advertisement? Will there be a professional salesperson on staff? I'm also curious as to the cost of these homes, as you alluded to, was going to be in the low 300s and up. Being in the lumber business, lumber's gone up 130-some% from a year ago. So if this project takes a year or a year and a half to build, I'm not so sure that those numbers work out properly when you look at square foot cost today. If you look at the average square foot cost of a home building from scratch today, not including the lot, it's in that $150, $160 a square foot range, not including the cost of the lot. So with lumber being what it is, and even though prices have dropped off about 18%, I'm not so sure that your evaluation of the cost of these homes is there and if they're going to be sellable at that point in time. I think I only have one more that one of the homeowners submitted. Let me see. It was, the traffic study by A&R was thorough. It was very well done. The LOS level was only 3% year over year for the next 5 years. It has A, B, and C rating, and in the 103-page study, it was very clear that the amount of traffic that would be generated would be acceptable over the next 5 years of growth. The biggest traffic congestion or bottleneck would be coming from the quick trip up Timber Ridge in that direction, and hopefully that is going to be resolved by the county. But the traffic study in general was a really well thought out, well presented traffic study. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wood or Mr. Allison, would you like to make a few comments?
All right, we're some serious writing happening, making sure we got all those. So running through the traffic study, there was a third-party traffic study as well as an A&R done. Both of them found that the levels were satisfactory and not D's or E's or F's, which you typically see, that it was A's, B's, and C's on the traffic. But we're still adding those turn lanes even though they didn't recommend them. And so we're definitely doing our decel and left turn lanes as shown on the plan to make that. The numbers are accurate, even though what we've been doing, even though the numbers have decreased with COVID, what we do is we take a kind of like a merge, and so we ask the professional traffic engineers to look at past numbers from DOT, present numbers from the counts, and then they make a blend, and then they use a growth rate to make sure it's accurate. And so we definitely used those numbers and made sure that that was accurate for the study. And we studied all of those intersections to make sure that we really encompass that, and that was done, in getting some feedback from staff. And then just to kind of make sure that, I guess you could say that we understand that, is that if it came out, there's a question about the traffic light. If a traffic signal is, if we go through the permitting process and Public Works says, do a warrant study, we require a warrant study, and if it's warranted, we have to figure out how to get in a traffic light, we'll figure out how to get in a traffic light. Like, we're not going to, try to fight any conditions that staff comes out with. And so if anything is warranted, we'll move forward with those warrants. And so we don't want to make sure we say that as part of it. And it's in the condition.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martin, I'm going to do my best to try to get them all. As we said, we were scribbling them down real fast. I want to try to address all the opposition we can. Before I do that, I just want to point out, it's often, that the neighbors come out and give their input at these meetings, and I think that's really important in this process. What's usually what you don't see is when you have neighbors support you, they don't bother to come to the meetings. And so I just applaud your community here, that the fact that those folks have taken the time to come out and voice their support. One, speaks to their commitment to the community, and two, I think to the merits of our project. So how did we find out about the project? The property's been vacant forever, and has been on the market for, I want to say 15 plus years. So, always kind of looked at it. It's a great location. The owner wants to sell it, and we want to buy and develop property. So anytime those two things come together, it's a property that's on our radar. Next was the appearance of the product. We're showing mixed materials on the front elevations. It's kind of a craftsman style plan. You can see some mixed brick, stone, cedar shake that's a hardy shake material on the front, and then hardy shake on the other three sides. If somebody doesn't like the elevations, I'm not a designer or an architect, so we're happy to kind of mix materials and come up with something different. We think this is a proven product, and it's pretty good looking. Question about how small I guess first was the square footage of our product. The 1,400 square feet that's listed on the plans is the minimum allowed under the PUD zoning. So we're going significantly above that. What is that, 20% above that, 30% above that square footage of the minimum. So that's our range is the 1,800, which we put in as a condition. If we just went straight under an unconditioned PUD, we could go as small as 1,400. So that's the difference there. As far as the small lots being 4,600 square feet, the first thing that I would say is that is what the buyer wants. Not everybody wants to come in and have a big yard and a lot of maintenance. We're seeing it more and more with young folks that want to spend the weekends out playing with their kids and not cutting their grass or attending soccer matches or whatever. And so having the smaller lot tends to be more attractive to the first-time home buyer, first-time move-up buyer. So that's with the lot size. On that, it has a product that each house is still 12 feet apart, which is very similar to what's built around us as far as side setbacks. And then once you get up to the bigger lots, the houses go up to 20 feet apart. So again, it's going to look very similar to what's there on the ground today. How will they be marketed was a question. We have a large national home builder in tow. They market through their website, market through agents. They have inside sales, so they build model homes, typically a model home park in this case, which would be 2 or 3 houses of each product type, and stage them with furniture and have essentially a sales center on site in the house. I'm trying to read my handwriting here. As far as the hard costs to build, if you're going to go build a custom home, the gentleman's absolutely right. You're $150 to $300 a foot for that house. Again, this is a national home builder. They've got national contracts with lumber and their materials and all of those things, and hard costs are much closer to $80 to $100 a foot. So that's kind of where maybe we're seeing the differences in the underwriting. I think that was everything.
Yes.
If there's anything else.
I've got one question, if I might ask. The corner of Frank Lane and Presley Mill, you have an ingress and egress on the northern side of the road. What about the corners that actually merge into Presley right there at Frank Lane? Will anything be done with those corners?
Yeah, so again, our third-party traffic engineer has told us, leave it the way it is. We're open to what the county and the city has to say, their transportation departments. If they want it restriped or any sort of road improvements there, we'll comply with those, and we have that as a condition.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion regarding this application?
I make a motion, we approve the application.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? The motion passes and the application is approved. If you'll make sure on your iPads as it comes up. Thank you, sir. All right, are there any items from you, Ms. Woodward or Mr. Anderson?
You still got, Francisco.
I guess this meeting is adjourned.
Francisco, it's still got some more, some
We
more
still got
stuff.
more?
I mean, you went over staff reports yet? You went to staff reports? On the agenda, did you go through staff reports? We don't have anything though,
Do you have
bro.
any staff reports?
Okay, so you adjourn?
If you have no staff reports,
Okay, no staff
all
reports.
right, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, all right. All right.
That presentation changed my mind.